Hi, it's me, Creative Katie, Karen Burchell. Welcome to my channel, Mixed Media Creations. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WordPress, and Pinterest. Just do a search there for Creative Katie and you will find me. If you want to support my channel, you can shop through my Amazon influencer links or make a direct donation through my PayPal link. Both links can be found in the description box below. Thank you for your support. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click on the bell, and select the option to be notified as soon as I upload a new video. You won't miss any that way. Today we have a mixed media art journal tutorial. Enjoy! Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchell. Today I am going to do a mixed media canvas. It is a thinner canvas. This is 10 by 20. I love this size. I find it looks really well, looks good on the walls. So I'm going to do a variety of colors. I want a very colorful background, and then I'm going to be doing a lot of stencil work and negative painting. So I have a dark pink quinacridone magenta, bright aqua, I'm not sure, light blue permanent, whether I decided to leave that in or out. I think I left it out. Artist Loft Brilliant Yellow. I find every canvas looks better with some yellow. This is an Artist Loft Orange. Deep Violet, one of my all-time fave colors. It mixes so well with so many colors. And Artist Loft Turquoise, which is this very nice opaque color. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put some green yellow in there or not. So I'll put it on the palette, and if not, I have a place to put it. So this is just a lid that I bought at wholesale place, and there's just deli paper on there. Got that tip from my friend Yvonne. And I'm just going to spray some water because I want to keep this open a little bit longer. And you know, and I've tried with the focal point that I want to do, I've tried and tried and tried, trying to figure out what colors I want next to what colors and how I'm going to do this. And you know, in the end I just decided that I am going to just go random and see if it works. So I'm going to do the sides as well because I have the paint out, and I'm not even looking for perfect coverage. What I really want is some of this blending to go on. You know, this magenta and this bright aqua makes this beautiful blended purple. And that's what I really want. That's when I'm so happy in my art, when I get that. So, and I'm just going to wipe off my fingers every once in a while. I'm sticking with some tried and true combos. And even as I'm applying this, my mind is thinking about what the possibilities are.
for where I want to take this. And whether that helps or hinders my overall project, I do not know yet. I'm kind of thinking as I'm going here, and when I want more of the mixing, the blending in between colors. Although when we do the stencil work, we're going to cover over some of that, so it's not going to necessarily be a stark line. And actually, I'm kind of liking what I got going on here. Wasn't the plan. I know that's not going to work. I'm going to put some yellow here. You know, I kind of like what's going on here. So I'm actually going to get some baby wipes and remove some of this and have that band going across. And this is where, you know, sometimes you don't know until you get going, this is why a coat of gesso is a good idea. So I'm going to remove that and I'll come. So now that I know color patterns, I'm not even going to be worried too much about keeping it necessarily the same width. But I am going to keep basically the same color. There may be more of the blend, there may be more of the basically it's going to be the same colors.
So now that I've decided to do these stripes basically across the canvas, even though they're not exactly the same width, I'm not too worried about that. I'm adding a little bit more color down here. I'm really happy with how this is coming together, especially where these colors are blending together. Definitely, they're bright, they're colorful, very springtime-ish. And with all the snow we've had in Victoria in the last little while, I really needed a dose of springtime. So I'm just adding the paints to this. And I'm working fairly quickly because I want the paint to stay wet so I can blend it. And every once in a while, I am spraying it with a little bit of water or dipping my fingers in water just to help the paint stay open and be able to be blended very easily. Loving how you get these purple colors and all these different shades in here. This really is a lesson in blending colors. And there's nothing so freeing as painting with your fingers. And I'm not worried about leaving fingerprints or marks in the paint because I know I'm going to be adding stenciling and many, many, many layers to this. And that will not show. So when this is done, I set it aside to dry and I grab out the stencils that I'm going to use. This is TCW 837 texture plate, and it is a wonderful stencil. Look at all the lovely, lovely patterns and designs. So when I'm stenciling, I am picking the same colors that I have in the background, and I'm just stenciling in places where I think it's going to show up. So I'm going to put the purple on top of the yellow and the blue, and I'll put the yellow or white on top of the dark purples. And many times I will stencil the same part, like this flower, in several colors from the background. So not only will I use the colors that are in the background, all the colors that I already have on my palette, but I'll add black and white, and often I will add some metallic, although I didn't here. Love these little waves there. They just add a really interesting detail. Some of the paints, if you look at the tubes, will say that they are more opaque. They will show up a little bit better than the transparent or translucent ones. Just a little tidbit. So if you look at that, if it's not showing up, if you just take and mix that color with a little bit of white, it may show up a little better. This is 851. The S stands for the small stencil. It's the 6x6 stencil. They also come in 12x12, but I wanted the size of the small stencil here. And this is dotted rings. And I love how this stencils, and I know I'm going to be using this one again and again. It just adds that little detail. And I do add this in white, and I think I add it with Prussian blue as well. And I'm trying not to be too orderly or planned where I put the stenciling. And I'm not afraid to stencil over top of something that I've already stenciled on, because you want that layered look. It's all about creating layers. And in this case, I'm not using any collage or any texture paste or anything else other than paint. And yet you're still getting that visual texture and the look of things that are closer and further. And I am stenciling on the sides as well. I really like the look of the same colors and the patterns going around the edges of the canvases or cradled wood boards. It's a bit finicky and it takes time and it doesn't shoot very well in the video, but I really like how that works. So I'm just getting some Prussian blue. I'm at the end of the container, so I'm just cutting it open and scraping it out. And here I'm adding the Prussian blue. And that's what I said before. Often I use the same stencil pattern with at least 2 different colors. So once I'm done with that one, I grab this small stencil, 848S, pineapple, and it has some really interesting patterns. So while I'm not using it as the whole, the pineapple, I am using a part. And so look at your stencils and look at parts of them and see the patterns that are there. Can you use just a section of it? This is Coral Spray. And this is TCW846S. And again, I'm using the same colors that I have in the background. Not everything I'm stenciling on do I want to be upfront and bold. And it's kind of a dance between you put one color and then you put another and you build in contrast. You add a dark and then you add some light. So here I'm going back to the initial, the texture plate stencil and adding some more with, I wanted a little bit of these darker colors in there. And I'm just picking out a little section of that stencil to doing it. I think I used 3 or 4 different parts of that stencil. It's a great stencil to get. And as you've seen me doing, if the stenciling, you get too heavy-handed with the paint, you can just lift it up, use a baby wipe, and get rid of it. That's because everything underneath is permanent. It's acrylic paint and it's permanent. If you use watercolors or something that's going to be water activated, you can't really do that. Now I've decided I need some more white. This is looking a little dark. And I do go a little crazy with these flowers on here. Now I had put these flowers earlier in either the purple or Prussian blue. I'm not sure, I can't remember which. But I'm really liking the look of these flowers. And I'm just moving this stencil around and I actually end up adding a lot of the flowers. So I'm still having some trouble with my sound on the videos. I'm not sure what's up, so I'm really talking loudly, so that's why my voice might be sounding a little funny when I do the voiceovers. So I'm looking for that. If the volume is too quiet, please, it's not the gear, turn on the closed captioning and then you will be able to read it and see what I'm saying so you can understand the tutorial. And thank you so much for your patience in that. One thing that I really didn't do a lot of in this was turn my canvas as I was stenciling. And that's a good idea because it just, you see things differently and you want the stenciling to come at be different angles, less predictable or planned out. So this background, what I have here, can be used for a multitude of focal points. But I'm going to put some mermaid tails on here. So I just got some clip art and I combined this part of this tail with this part of that tail and then added, tweaked it a bit, and then I'm cutting it out of the plastic that you binder dividers. And I'm just cutting it out with my X-Acto knife. So that's how easy it is to cut out your own stencil. I do take this also and cut out several paper tails. And the reason for that is I know later on I'm thinking I may need them as masks. And you'll see when I use that at the end. So there's all my tails. And I'm very visual. I need to see the arrangement on there. I can't just put one somewhere and just have one tracer or template. So what I'm doing is I am tracing the tails out with my Stabilo All pencil. And this one's navy. I could have used black. You could use white. You could use watercolor pencils or chalk for that matter. Anything that will erase later on. So I'm just tracing it. And you see I'm working with the masks on this because I'm trying to decide which tail I want to be in front and which one I want to be in back. Just using my Faber-Castell sharpener. It's a great sharpener for watercolor or Inktense or my Stabilo all pencil. And I'm putting some of the tails so that they are actually off the canvas. And actually, I do end up kind of wrapping it around the canvas so it looks like the tail is on the sides as well. So now I'm doing negative painting. And in negative painting, you're painting out not the focal point, but the space around it so that the focal point stands out. And I'm using a mixture of the bright aqua and Prussian blue. And I'm kind of mixing it on the canvas. I'm not too worried. I don't want it to be all one color, one tone. And the bright aqua is more opaque. And so it helps cover this with only one coat. Whereas the Prussian blue is more transparent and translucent, and you would see a lot of the background through just one coat of the Prussian blue. Now these are mermaid tails, and I want the area around it to be ocean, to resemble ocean. So that's why I went with those colors. And you can see that you can still see some of the background on there through the paint. And I'm painting the sides. That's when I'm kind of going off camera for you. So negative painting is a really good technique to learn. And while it may seem, it's really difficult to take a background that you love and paint out parts of it. I would have just loved this background as it was. So sometimes I find you just gotta have to take a deep breath and just go for it. I am never unhappy when I've done negative painting. I always like the effect, and it really makes your focal point pop out. And you can use any shape. Just keep them rather simple, because remember, you're going to have to paint around all of them. And if you don't have a template, you can freehand it as well. I was smart this time, and I took pictures of my background before I did the negative painting step. And I can save it, and I can print it out and use it in my artwork at a later date. I find getting to go around the corners of the angle brush works really well to help. I just love, love, love this background. It's so bright and cheerful. So at different times I get a little confused about what I need to be painting out, and then I just take the masks that I cut out of paper, put them back on, and figure out where I need to be painting. So there I'm adding a little bit more layers, some dark areas, some light areas, just as I think it looks good. And there's the whole picture. So now I'm going to be doing a lot of floating acrylics, and I'm shading. I'm shading on the inside, and then I shade on the outside, both with Prussian blue, and then I come back in with Payne's Gray, which is a blue toned gray. Not quite black. I just thought the black would be a little too stark on here. And then I also do some shading with white. And I don't know, I didn't film a lot of that because it is a fairly lengthy process. But you can see how the shading is helping to bring out and add some 3D, three-dimensional effect to the tails. You can see where I've put it and where I haven't put it, and how it's making them pop. And usually I add more than one layer. I put one, I let it dry, or I dry it with the heat tool, then I come back and I build up the layers till I find that I like it. So there I'm drying it as I go. Now here you're going to see a picture of it after I added the white. I shade it with the white, and it's kind of sat like this for a few days. And then I decided, oh, I needed to do something to the background. The black background was just a little too flat. So I got out this snakeskin stencil, which I love using for water effects. It just reads to me as under the sea. So I'm using the paper cutouts to mask off the tails, and then I'm just stenciling this with Prussian blue. And it's just a shade darker than what's in the background, and so you get those kind of bubbly sea effects. And I'm moving the masks around as I go, and I'm really liking this detail. I had so many ideas about what I wanted to do. I was going to add scales to the mermaid tails. One of the tails I was actually going to maybe do modeling paste on to make it stand out. And then I changed my mind, and I'm really happy with what I did here because it's very simple, but it's very effective. And sometimes you can do too much and actually make it look worse. So once that dried with the Prussian blue, I come back with this iridescent medium. And this is the Artist Loft brand. And while it goes on white, it dries more clear and iridescent. And so you really catch the shimmer. And once I varnish this, it just looks spectacular. I'm so happy with my decision of that. And you can see it a little bit. The lighting here isn't the best. The sun is shining, and I can't close the blinds when the sun is shining. Then I decide did a little bit more shading, and then I grabbed my fine line bottle, which has a mixture of white heavy body paint that's been thinned in it, and I'm just outlining these tails. And I really like the white, just really makes it pop, and I like this more than I liked the previous version when I had just shaded the white. But I also had added a lot more shading after I did the background with the iridescent medium. Here are some close-ups of the finished product and some of the steps along the way. I hope you give this a try in whole or in part. The colors just pop. Give me a thumbs up. Share this with your friends. Check the description box for links to any products that you may want to find out. Bye for now.